All right, so today we are here with Annie Wiese from women's diving here at Notre Dame. So I always obviously like to start with you telling us a little bit about your injury background just to kick things off.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. So my injury was I had just turned 14, which is very young, and we were at the 2013 National Championships for diving in Minnesota, and it was in the warm-up. I was on the 3-meter springboard, so a lot of people are like, oh, the high dive, but it's still one of the bouncy ones, and I was just doing my hurdle down the board, which is kind of like where you start your walk and then you jump and then you go off the board. And it was like a routine thing, and it was just kind of like a freak accident. I had a tibial plateau fracture, which is basically where your leg hyperextends backwards and like your femur breaks your tibia because it's like smashes into it. It's really disgusting. And a lot of old people actually have that injury when they like fall off a curb, because if you like step and you don't know, where you're gonna land, it was crazy. But I got really lucky because everybody who does that injury usually tears like everything in their ACL, MCL, like everything in their knee. And I did not. And I really think that that's the reason that I was kind of able to come back and do my sport still. So it was a long time coming, but we're here.
So wait, let me see if I got this right. Were you going on to jump off?
Yeah, I was doing my walk down the board, and it's hard to explain kind of without a video, but basically I was jumping off of 2 feet onto 1, and then I was going to jump again and land together and then jump off the board.
But you didn't get to jump off the board into the water, right?
Well, I kind of just fell.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, imagine if you were like going down and you like were in pain.
Yeah, it was not good. Yeah, it was wild.
And you were 14 years old?
Yes.
That's kind of horrifying.
Yeah, it was actually.
Like, that would be very traumatizing for me.
Right. Yeah, it was wild. I remember it was crazy. Like it was not a scream, but it's like everything's kind of like a blur. I just remember being like, that was definitely the worst pain of my life. And then I knew that it was major damage when I like hit the water and I couldn't swim up to kick with my legs. So I just kind of used my arms. It was like floating to the surface. And then my coach was actually on the other side of the pool, kind of by the 1 meters. And then like this coach knew that something major happened. He like pulled me out, and then I was laying there, and it was just wild. But yeah.
That swimming story sounds like some actual nightmares that I have. Like,
I know.
It's like, why am I not moving?
I know. I'm like, I'm going to drown.
So what was it like going through rehab that young?
It was crazy because I had surgery probably like 11 days later or something. And I mean, for the first, I would say it was like at least 8 to 10 weeks, I could not move it. I mean, it was ridiculous. And then when I did go through rehab, it was 3 days a week of physical therapy for like at least an hour, and they would do that scar massage. And then once I started to, it wasn't weight bearing because it was on that alter gravity treadmill. But I remember when I first got in that, they just wanted me to stand vertically for a while and like try to, get the motion back in my hips and everything of like moving my leg. And it was so funny. I felt like I was floating because it would hold me up so far in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then when I finally got back to walking, like 3-4 months later, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm no longer being hoisted off the ground, off the treadmill in this. But it was, looking back, I think if I were to go through that now, it would be even worse because I'd be older and everything like that. And so I think, when you're younger, it was horrifying, but it was very, I think I was like, oh, like I'm going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And it was, you just have a different outlook. So, but I mean, it definitely changed how I see everything now and see where I am. But it was hard, and being, so yeah, at least I would say I'm grateful that it happened when I was living at home and when my parents could be there to like take care of me. I mean, they put so much time into making sure that I was like happy and getting better and everything like that.
I think that's something we've seen a lot is the people, because you're the first person I've talked to who was so young.
Yeah.
And everyone who's been hurt in college, one of the hardest adjustments is like you're on your own, and then you're going to throw an injury on top of that. And like if it's whether you can't walk and you have a scooter and crutches and you can't get your own food. And I think it's interesting to hear about your experience while being at home when most people we've talked to, it's been at school.
Yeah, and I think, my friends could come visit, and being at home, it was like, I remember my mom and I would just go to random places. She'd be like, let's go shopping today. And I'm like, didn't we go the entire last week? Like, it was just to get me out of the house. There was so much effort there. And part of my story that's kind of weird is I started online school in 8th grade because I would have missed the whole first semester for that injury anyways. And then I actually kept doing it for the entirety of high school.
Wow.
Yeah, really, really strange. I'm kind of like a homeschooled freak. When I first got to college, I was like, friends.
So you originally started because of your injury, and then you just kept going.
Yes, because
That's cool.
When I was rehabbing and trying to get back to diving, this coach in my area reached out to me and asked if I wanted to join his team. That he was putting together a team of divers that were going to train for the 2016 Olympic trials. And it was going to be a day team, and they were going to all do online school and everything like that. So it was kind of perfect and kind of a weird coincidence that I had already started, and then he asked me to, and so I did, and then I just kept doing that. So yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm so bad with online classes.
Yeah, I don't know motivation for that.
Yeah, it's like wait 5 minutes before you can turn the page. I'm like, no, I'm going now. It's a quiz at the end. I'm not doing well now.
So I kind of want to talk about, because we were talking before, like I literally don't know anything about diving. I just like see the videos online and they look really cool. And I think it's a very unique sport, and it takes obviously a lot of talent. So kind of just like, I don't know, just tell us about diving, because I feel like a lot of listeners probably have no idea about like how hard it is and like what goes into it, but watching what you guys do, I'm sure it's very hard.
Thanks. So I got into diving because I did gymnastics for like 7 to 8 years before. So I started diving when I was 10. And I always remember like telling my parents, I have no idea where I even came up with this idea. But I was like, when I quit gymnastics, and of course they were like, oh, you're going to quit? Because gymnastics horrified me, like genuinely. I mean, you're up so high, flipping around. And I'm like, if you fall off that bar, you're going to die and break your neck. So I always told them I was going to be a diver or a trampolinist, which no idea where I got that idea. I know, but that's even scarier than diving and gymnastics. But I think I must have seen it like 2008 Olympic time, kind of watching it on TV. And we're so lucky because diving is actually a really big thing in Indiana and like California, Texas, Florida. Those are kind of like the big states, and Ohio actually recently. So, so I started diving, and I loved it because, you can kind of smack the water wrong, but other than that, you're pretty much going to be okay. And diving in college is really interesting because you are combined with the swim team, and that's really the only other time besides high school that you are combined teams. And so in our dual meets and championship season, basically how it works is diving events, 1 meter, 3 meter, and platform are the same amount of points as like the 50 free or the 200 free or the mile swim. So it counts for the team the same, and it's really amazing because diving is so individual that I've never had the experience of being on a team having like 30 other teammates, and it's so fun because everybody's kind of in it together. And my roommate's a swimmer, and I just like go insane for her when she's swimming for 14 to 16 minutes in her mile swim. And it's so funny because
ridiculous.
Ridiculous. I know, and I'm just like the 1650. Oh my goodness. And so it's cool to see them kind of do their thing, even though I would say for people that don't know anything about diving, swimming is track and gymnastics is diving. So it's strange that they're combined at all, but I feel very lucky because, the swimmers are like my best friends, and it's so amazing to get to compete together and things like that. But it's so funny because people are always like, do you swim too? I'm like, not at all, only to the side of the pool. So, and they don't dive at all either. So like, it's totally separate, but one team.
I would have assumed that you do both.
No.
Well, at least I would assume, not that swimmers dive, but I would assume that you would have had to swim a little.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's
really
so crazy. No, totally different. I mean, diving is a very artistic sport, and swimming is pure cardio and grit, and it's insane.
Poetry in motion.
Yeah.
What event do you do then?
So everybody on the diving team does the 1 meter springboard, the 3 meter springboard, and then the platforms, that event we actually don't have at Notre Dame. So we kind of have to go train it somewhere else. We don't have platforms here.
Isn't that the
The
big?
really high one that doesn't bounce at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, like the
Okay.
10 meter.
We don't have that.
Like back
No.
to school.
No, we don't have those at all.
What is that?
So it's
Movie. Okay, never mind.
okay. But yeah, so the platform event, we do that at the mid-season meet, which is usually at like Ohio State because they have like a really nice big pool. And then at the ACC Championships, we do platform. And if you make the NCAA Championships, you would compete it there too. But everybody's always kind of shook that we don't have one of those. One of the platforms here, but we still kind of just send it and just compete on it.
Competing it anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like, all right, it'll go.
Yeah, here we go.
It's so funny that you said, like you started out with gymnastics, because I feel like there's a really close similarity, at least in my experience, between tumbling and diving.
Yes.
Like some of our best tumblers on the cheer team are like used to be divers in high school and
Yeah.
in grade school growing up. And it's like, wow, how are you doing that flip and jumping so high? And they're like, well, I'm used to doing it on like a springboard, a diving
right.
board. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I know, it's so funny. I always thought we would get recruited for the cheer team because...
Let me know.
I know, because we can do all the standing flips and stuff on the ground for diving. So, yeah, there's definitely a very close similarity. It's... I actually was a cheerleader, fun fact, in 5th grade.
I can so see that though.
I was into it.
What happened?
I don't know. I think...
Those online classes, huh?
It was-
That's what it was.
No, I don't know. I think I just knew I didn't really have time for both. And I actually
get that.
wanted to do 2 varsity sports here and do cheer, but then the head
That
swim
went
coach
sick.
kind of vetoed that
She said-
very quickly. He said no.
said no?
Yeah, he was like, well, if you travel for one, you can't travel for the other because
Yeah.
it kind of overlapped seasons.
so
but
funny.
I respect the cheer tumbling for sure.
Thank you. We respect your flipping.
Thank you.
See, and did you notice that she said she wanted to play 2 varsity sports and she kind of cheers one? And we talked about that on the podcast with
Thank you.
Totally
Charlie and
varsity sport.
Irving.
You guys are, I mean,
It's hard.
It's hard. And
Yeah.
the lifting and the flipping. And I was a base. And I was not.
No
I
way.
did not let them throw me into the air. I was
No?
not a flyer. But it's hard. You have to be so strong for that.
Yeah, I mean, we work out a lot. Sometimes it gets to our head, all Notre Dame athletes and cheerleaders. It's like, okay, thank you.
Well, the dive. I mean, we feel similarly about that too because
With
the
swimming
dive team
and diving?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times when people are like, "Oh, are you a swimmer?" I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah,
say yes.
sometimes
It's
you just
it's
got
just
to.
harder to. I mean, it's So totally, our sports are, they might be at the bottom of the food chain, but they're there.
Yeah, exactly. We're still athletes.
We're still athletes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever get, I'm curious about this, do you ever get afraid when you're on top?
Oh.
Waiting to go down?
100%.
Really?
Really?
Yes. Oh, for sure. Like in meets, the adrenaline is just crazy because, it's such a quick time to kind of like exert all your force.
Right.
And even if you're nervous and, you have adrenaline and your heart is just like going crazy because it's, it's quiet and you're the only one going and there's like a judging panel and you're like, oh my God. And like, you try to do your best one every single time. But I think if you try to focus on doing your best rep of that dive ever in the competition, you probably will mess it up because you really just need to do it how you practice.
Sure.
So yeah, it's definitely, it's scary sometimes. And when you're learning new dives and you're up on the crazy platform, you're just like, this is so high. Why am I doing this? But
Yeah.
it's fun. I guess if you're an adrenaline junkie, diving is the way to go.
That's crazy because most of the swims are races, right?
Exactly.
So there's everyone's like 4 or 5 lanes at once, 6 lanes. But like diving, if it's one at a time, that's got to be like, I don't know.
It
That's
is
even worse
super
than
nerve-wracking.
track because there's other people in different lanes.
Yeah, and it is weird because the swimmers, I think a lot of times, obviously they want to beat everybody next to them, but they're also they're trying to go a best time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of times if you do that for the team, like that's so exciting, and the team, behind you, I admire so much that the swimmers are such great athletes, but they're also great competitors. But in diving, I do feel like it's very individual at this point in my life because if I do my best list ever, I will be really, really happy with those results. And getting up and doing my best dives and being confident and just competing like I practice it's rewarding, and you do have to be a good competitor, I think, in the sense of if there are people before you or right after you that are phenomenal, you definitely want to be at their level by doing your dives as well as you can, and setting it up for them to do a great one, or I don't know how to explain that, but it's fun. And we just had the ACC Championships, and being around some phenomenal divers, Olympic caliber divers, it's really cool to see that. But definitely a lot of pressure in that type of meet, because you do want to do your best and not mess up, but it's fun for sure.
Why don't you have a little second to brag and tell us how you did at the ACC Championships?
So ACCs this year was hugely successful for our team as a whole, for sure. The women's diving team totaled the highest number of points out of any other women's diving team in the ACC. So
it gets better.
Just looking at women's diving, we technically won the ACC there for point total. But it's cool because all those points get to go and help out the swim team. And so we placed 5th overall this year out of all of the women's ACC swim and dive teams. They just had some incredible swims, and everything like that was amazing. And then I was really happy because coming in as a sophomore and not as a freshman, last year I was so intimidated. At ACCs, my nerves and my anxiety were just insane.
Yeah.
And this year I was excited. I really wasn't nervous. And so we started on the 1 meter. And if you have to be in the top 24 places, and there's usually 40 to 45 girls, but the top 24 score points for the team overall. And so this year I got 12th on 1 meter, which was really exciting because last year I didn't score on 1 meter. I got 26th or something. And then on 3 meter, which is my favorite event, last year I made NCAAs on 3 meter, and I was so happy because that's my favorite, and I feel like that's just my best event too. I got 8th place in the prelim. And if you are in the top 8 for diving, you get to come back and do a finals list at night, and it's on TV. And
wow.
For swimming, it's kind of weird because the top 24 score, but they all get to come back and swim if you're in the top 24. So they do a C final, a B final, and then an A final. So for diving, it's weird that they only let technically the A final, right, the 8 and the A final go back and score, or not score, but dive on live TV. And so I was in 8th, and then in the final I got to do my list again, and it was so amazing because all of the swim teams that have people in the A final come over during the diving break and watch, and so all my teammates were over there cheering, and it was the coolest moment of my life. And I got 6th place in the final. So I moved up 2 spots, and it was so amazing. I was so happy with it. And definitely throughout my junior career and everything, I think diving's really stressful, and it's always stressful, but that was the most fun I think I've ever had doing it. It was so fun. It was just a good moment. My parents were there, and it was great.
Yeah, I think that'll fuel you going forward too, because you'll just be excited for more moments like that.
Yeah, it was so exciting. And my roommate did really well in her mile, which is
that's
just
crazy.
absurd. But yeah, it was so exciting.
Yeah.
Are there ever times when you're up late at night and you go, man, I really wish I joined the trampoline team?
Honestly, no. But there are times when it is late at night and I can't fall asleep, and I'm have to be up for morning practice, in a couple hours, and that's not fun. But diving is definitely, at this point, so fun for me because it's just, my dives are just enough adrenaline where I love it, and it's still a tiny bit scary, but I would say in college it's kind of about perfecting the dives that you have rather than trying to learn new ones, at least for me at this point in my career. So this year I have been competing dives that I learned over the summer, and now I'm just trying to perfect them, and so I'm really happy with my list and where it's at. And I think in my next 2 years, which is my last 2 years of diving, which sounds so crazy because I feel like I've been doing it for 10 years now.
You don't know that.
Final start. Well, I don't know.
You don't know.
There's not professional diving, so I don't know. But I think it's so fun because it's just enough adrenaline and tiny bit of fear. Not really fear, but a little bit when you're up on the platforms competing. But I think it's so fun for me now because I'm just enjoying my teammates and my coaches, and just kind of having fun with it. So I definitely don't regret the diving versus the trampoline.
I feel like a common folk might think that diving isn't that hard, and I think one of the things that when I think of swimming and diving is your early morning workouts.
Yes.
Why don't you just kind of share with us what a week looks like for you?
Okay, so in season, we practice 6 days a week. Swimming and diving is funny. We are very set on that 20-hour rule. We go to 20.0. Like, I know a lot of teams are like 17 and a half. We're like, no, 20.0. It's crazy. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have practice from 2 to 4, and then lift from 4:30 to 5:30. Tuesday, Thursday, we have our doubles, which is, a little daunting. Practice starts at 7 a.m., goes till 8:45, and then like class all day. And then we're back at the pool from 2 to 4:30. And then
Pause. When do you wash your hair?
right, I wash
In
it
the pool?
in the morning, and then
You wash it twice a day?
yes,
No way.
yes, I do. Tuesdays and Thursdays twice a day. I know. I'm like, that's why I
Wow.
literally have 6 pieces of hair.
That's shocking.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy?
Huh.
It's
Because whenever we're in the gym after you guys, we're like, oh, it smells like chlorine.
oh my god, I know. I hate that smell. I feel like when I'm done diving, I'm not going to smell my chlorine perfume anymore because it's so severe. Like, I've literally been smelling like that for like 13 years,
Really?
or 10 years. Yeah, insane.
That's crazy.
I know.
I cannot believe that you guys have 2-a-days in season.
Oh yeah, and then Saturday mornings we start at 8 with like an hour of yoga, and then dive for like the next 2 hours.
How many reps of diving do you get in?
So, I guess I probably should have said this before, but so on 1 meter, 3 meter, and platform, you do 6 dives. You compete 6 dives. Girls actually only do 5 on platform. Boys do 6 on all 3 boards. Not really sure why we only do 5, but anyway, so each one of your 6 dives has to be different. So, at least on like 1 meter, 3 meter, and then
Really?
platform. Yes. And so there are 4 categories of dives on the springboards. Actually 5, I'm sorry. There's front, back, inward, reverse. Some people call that gainer. And then twisting. And then on the platform, you can do all of those, but you also add the scary arm stand where like you're on the end of the platform in a handstand and you
Yeah, I don't
flip
like
off.
that.
I don't like that either.
No
It's
way.
terrifying. Yes. So there's 6 categories on platform. So boys have to hit all 6, but then girls can pick 5 of the 6 on the platform.
Okay.
So normally in season, we're just really focused on doing a high number of reps of our list. And then sometimes when we're out of season, we kind of go back to basics. So that would be consisting of, we compete 2.5s, let's say, like 2.5s in all directions, sometimes 3.5s. And so we might go back to, making sure our 1.5s and our dives and our doubles are all perfect, because if you can't do those really well, you're not going to be able to hit your competition dives really well. So I would say on an average day, we probably dive off the board like anywhere between like 50 and 70 times.
Wow.
So, with some hot tub stops in between, because the pool deck is freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the water's cold here at Rolf's Aquatic Center. So, yeah, we're sometimes in the hot tub, but
That's so
only brief.
Is that true? Like, you go from real cold to real hot, and then your body becomes in shock, or is that like myth?
Our pool is not as cold as some swimming wells are, because
Okay.
our pool is kind of old and it's all one. It's connected. So a lot of times at like really big, nice pools, the diving well is like 85 degrees. But at our pool, it's probably like 78 or something. Which,
Okay.
So it's not super cold, but it's not, a refreshing warm tub.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so that's fine.
How deep is it where you jump in?
I think our pool is maybe like 13 feet, but to have a 10-meter platform, it has to be 17 at a minimum, because you're going so fast when you
Right.
you're going like 40 miles per hour off
my
the 10-meter when you
gosh.
hit the water. So it has to
That's
be really
ridiculous.
deep.
that
yeah, isn't that
scares
crazy?
me.
Free fall physics.
I get
Yeah.
afraid to like go down to the bottom of a pool that's like 10.
No, me too. I don't like the bottom of the pool because I'm kind of
It's
afraid
scary.
that I'm gonna somehow get like stuck on the drain and I mean, no, seriously,
stop.
major fear. That's so when we practice in swim caps. Divers practice in swim caps. So
Gotcha.
luckily that protects our hair a little bit, but like we don't compete in them because it looks kind of weird.
Okay.
So yeah.
How do you like tie it up? I don't.
Yeah, we just put it in like in a bun, ponytail, and then
Okay.
kind of wrap it up and then put the swim cap on. So yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I don't know. Do you have any other swimming myths that you can wreck for me? Like, if I were to eat something, how long would I have to wait? Do I have to wait the full 45 minutes? Or
What do you mean?
like they say, if you eat something, you can't swim for a while because you get stomach cramps, then you drown.
Oh, I don't know. You'll have to ask the swimmers about that one. I couldn't tell you.
She's
sorry,
a
I'm
diver.
sorry, you're right,
No,
you're
it's
right,
okay. No, it's okay. I actually don't know.
Okay.
But I do know that one thing that's a little unfortunate for us on the diving team is the swimmers, like, will literally burn 2,000 calories at their 6 a.m. practice. And so then they go into the dining hall and eat everything there. And I'm like, oh, like, because diving, it's not that much physical exertion as swimming. You know what I'm saying? It's hard.
It's more like an art.
It's more of like an artistic kind of thing. So we're not like burning those crazy amounts of calories. So like when my swim roommate is just literally eating everything, I'm like, oh my God, like I can't do that. You know, I'm always so jealous of them. I'm like, dang, I really should have chose swimming. Just kidding. But like, it's I mean, you know, it's funny. But,
Are you a good swimmer?
I would say no, because I watch good swimmers every single day, and I'm
That's so
certainly not
relative,
one.
though. I'm sure
Yeah.
you're better than both of us.
Well, but see, it's
doggy
funny though
paddle.
because I do too. But then coming to college and observing what they do every single day, I think I've gotten better just by watching. Like
Sure.
I can only do freestyle, like, and I mean a little bit of breaststroke, but like not in the proper way.
Yeah.
But I mean butterfly, I can't even do one of those. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't even lift my body out of the water like that. But my dad, when I was racing my brother over like spring break or something last year, because my brother is notoriously a horrific swimmer, and my dad was like, "Oh my God, how did you get so good at that?" I really think just from watching.
Watching, yeah.
But yeah, I mean they're some of the best in like the country, you know. So it's so
for
cool
sure.
to watch them do it. But I think I would say they've gotten better at least in my 2 years. So you know, hopefully
got
maybe,
two more.
maybe club swimming would accept me after I retire from diving. Just kidding.
I want to talk about, we were talking about this before also, but I want to talk about kind of just how swimming and diving isn't one of the sports on campus that everyone is glocking over. And it's
Yeah.
not, I mean, it's not like people don't appreciate it, but in a way it's very underestimated, and I don't feel like you guys get enough credit. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I appreciate that, first of all. I would say it's very ironic because diving is the sport that is most watched in the Olympics, always.
Yeah.
And
Really?
I think it's because people are so fascinated with
That's
it
cool.
and because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
And maybe because it's so high up and people are like, how could you ever do that?
Yeah.
But swimming, I think I've heard some of the swimmers say, you know, it kind of upsets us when it's a 4-year sport and people are like Michael Phelps and, you know, Ryan Lochte. And so everybody gets behind Team USA swimming once every 4 years because we just dominate in the pool. But for them, it's not every 4 years, it's every day. And, you know, they live like that. And so I think swimming and diving, you know, it's not one of the most hype sports, I would say. But our swimming and diving team has been getting so much better. Like last year, we took the biggest women's team to the NCAA Championships we've ever taken. Like we had the most people qualify that, you know, ever. And yesterday, you know, Zach Yaden winning the ACC Championship, and then a freshman got third. So they, you know, they both were on the podium, like breaking the school record. And it's amazing. And our swim coach has really done amazing things in recruiting just phenomenal athletes. And so I think hopefully in the years to come, you know, we get a little bit more recognition.
I need to come to some diving matches.
Well,
Let us know.
I think the Irish on 3 thing is
Yeah, they're doing-
amazing.
yeah.
They're really
it's
doing,
super helpful.
Yeah, they're really doing well.
Just getting people to come out.
Yeah, and I mean, the athlete community. I mean, we're all in this together for sure. So I think I love going to watch everybody do their thing. It's amazing. I would say that the meets are a little bit more exciting than people give it credit.
I want to
for.
come now.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Wait,
That
is the
would be
season
cool.
over?
Our home meet season's over, but I always tell my friends, I'm like, stop in during practice because it's, especially for diving, we go so many more times than just 6. Because then, you know, in a meet, like,
Yeah.
you know, you don't really get to see like a normal kind of practice. And so during practice, we would go off so many more times. We go off the board so many more times. So yeah, feel free to pop in whenever. Rolf's Aquatic Center. People don't even know we have a pool on campus. Like it's hilarious. I'm like, yes, it's literally just through the jack. Like it's right over there. But yeah, no, I think definitely we're getting better. People are hearing more about swimming and diving around here, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Have you ever hit the water wrong?
Like to smack?
Yeah.
Yes.
How bad does that hurt?
It depends what board you're doing that off of. I used to be a 10-meter diver, which is crazy. Back when I like to say back when I was a psycho. And I think I started doing that because after I broke my leg, I was like, wow, maybe I need to try a different event. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be the same on the springboard just because, mentally trying to come back from that. So when I started training with that coach that asked me to do it for Olympic trials, when I qualified for Olympic trials, it was in 10-meter synchronized diving, which, 10 meter, it's literally 33 feet in the air.
Yeah, that's
it's
a lot of feet.
Terrifying.
Wow.
And yes, when I was learning my list for that, I smacked like crazy, like every way, belly flop, back flop. I mean, off the 10 meter, it feels like you just hit the ground. Oh my God, it's so painful. So I feel like that has made me definitely tougher for the springboards.
I imagine.
Like when my teammates are like, oh, I just smacked. I'm like, I'm sorry. You did not just smack off the 10 meter. You are fine, But it does hurt and it does make a crazy noise.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I'd love to hear that.
YouTube it. Lot of
really?
funny smacks on YouTube. Yes.
Have to look that up.
Okay.
Actually, follow ND Diving. We now have a separate Instagram. It's run by one of the freshmen. He's hilarious. He's very good at it. They have some good smacks and some good dives, but some good smacks on there. If you want a little
That's
laugh,
funny.
look back on there. They're funny.
Cool, a
That
little
is
bit of
funny.
each. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of each. Yes.
How do you think, bringing this back to injury a little bit, how do you think like going through what you did so young has kind of prepared you? Not that you're like prepared to get injured again, but like I feel like you probably have a different mindset now, kind of
definitely.
approaching the possibility.
Yes.
Just kind of talk about that.
I think I would say I appreciate the health of my body so much more because I went through that so young. And I think learning what I did from it, which, every day is not, just going to come easily. You never know what every day is going to bring. And so I think even if you have a hard practice or a good practice, whatever it is, you got to attend the practice, And I think like people, when they're at their lowest lows because of injuries, it seems like they're never going to be back to themselves. And if they seem like they're never going to, be able to thrive in their sport again. But then when you do, it makes it so much sweeter.
Right.
And so I think at that age, I was like, oh, nothing bad's ever going to happen to me, all those things. And so now you never know what a new day is going to bring in your sport. But I would say we all love what we do so much that even if you get injured and you're like, that was the worst thing ever, it doesn't seem worth it. I learned so much that it's hard to say I would take it back, but I wish it didn't happen, but I don't know if I would be sitting here if it didn't. Does that make sense? Like it's, who knows? I might have been like, if I hadn't gone through that, I might have been like, I don't like diving anymore. I'm going to try something else. Or so, and so I think having the opportunity to be around such amazing people at this school, athletes, not athletes, just everybody it's so worth it that I think, if I do get injured, God forbid that doesn't happen, but I'm still here, so it's such an amazing thing. And I get to wear Notre Dame on my suit and, things like that. And it's so worth it that it would suck, but it would be like we would get through it, with the team.
Resilience.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Especially, I think, like, a lot of people we've talked to, it's that first time is the hump they have to get over.
Yeah.
And then not that it becomes easier, but you've learned so much that you kind of just know what works for you, what doesn't work for you.
Exactly. And I mean, I think getting through it with teammates and friends and whoever it is that is kind of like your rock at that time is so huge. But we're definitely lucky to have such great people around us.
What is the injured culture like on your team? Because the only other person I've really talked to on your team would have been Luke.
Yes.
But I don't, it's hard because I don't see you guys often, like, to understand how, like, your injured culture is.
I think for diving, it's kind of similar. We have a little bit more of that risk factor of, like, we could get hurt in the dry land room on the trampolines or things like that. Or, like, if you hit the board, you can break your hands or, like, whatever it is. I would say diving is a lot of overuse, too. A lot of wrist, shoulder, back, kind of things like that. But I think we have a really great, like, training staff and things like that. So, when somebody does get injured, we're definitely all there for them. But Luke, I mean, he is definitely like the inspiration of our team.
Oh my gosh, inspiration for everyone.
Oh my God, he's amazing.
Do you have any questions or anything you want to talk about? I want to open it up for any opportunities you want to talk about.
I don't think so. But thanks for talking with me and chatting with me, guys.
Yeah, this was
Sure,
really
thank
fun.
you.
You're like such a sweet little angel.
Thank you.
And I've been wanting, I've had like an ongoing list of people I've wanted to have on here, and ever since you posted, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
You did the story, so I've been wanting to have you on since
Well,
then.
thank you. I appreciate it. You guys are
Yeah.
awesome. And I love this platform. I think you do a great thing. As soon as I saw you launch that, I was like, I want to be on it. You guys, it's great. It's such a great thing. And I think the best thing about it is it's not just Notre Dame. You know, you have a really broad national
It's
audience.
expanding.
And that's something you should for sure be proud of. So
Thank you.
Empowering athletes.
it is empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank you.